Ugh, we get it. Welcome to Ranger Reviews, a web series where we look at episodes of the TV show Power Rangers and then discuss them. Today we're exploring the 40th episode of the show Power Rangers Turbo, as well as the 245th episode overall, titled Carlos and the Count. We begin this episode at Bulk and Skull's Scary Film Festival, and Justin and Carlos show up buying tickets. Apparently, this is their most recent get money scheme. They start the movie turning off the lights, and the main character's name in this movie is named Scooter, which is amazing. Divtox is watching this via her periscope and she talks about how she hates vampire movies. Then Elgar is outside trying to swat some lunar bats and Divtox wants to introduce them to Earth. One turns into a monster named Count Nocturne. The movie is over and everyone is leaving. Carlos says goodbye to Justin, tickling him. What? Stop. Carlos walks home at a filtered 4 p.m. and he hears some noises. He thinks it's Justin messing with him, but there's no one there. Then Piranha show up behind him and Carlos is fighting them. They hold him back and Count Nocturne shows up running towards Carlos and going for his neck. Bulk and Skull walk by, freaking out at the sight. He then bites Carlos and he leaves. Carlos is confused and there's bite marks on his neck. Bulk and Skull then say how Carlos is going to become a vampire now and they have to become vampire hunters now. The next day at school, Carlos is wearing mostly black with shades on. Ashley says hi, making fun of his look and sunglasses. Carlos says he can't wake up and his eyes have been weird. Ashley invites him to go to the blood drive after school to make donations and Carlos is stoked. Cause he's a vampire, get it? Bulk and Skull are there with garlic and books and they see Carlos yawn with red eyes and fangs. Didn't they graduate already? Justin scares them, asking what they're doing there, and they give him some garlic to ward off vampires. Then Principal Kaplan shows up, giving them detention. Okay, that's kind of funny. Also, by the way, this is the last time we'll ever see Principal Kaplan. That's sad. In the study area, Justin sits next to Carlos, who is freaking out about the garlic, and he asks Carlos why he's wearing sunglasses. He's getting super suspicious of him. After school, Justin is there again reading a textbook. TJ taps him on the shoulder, scaring him. TJ and Cassie come over, and apparently Justin is looking up vampires, saying that he was just curious, even though he's just staring down Carlos. They're going to the youth center. Ashley then comes over, asking Carlos to grab a bite. Bad phrasing. Justin watches, leaving. Divtox then sees that Justin is catching on too quickly, so they need to get Count Nocturne to bite the rest of them right away. TJ, Cassie, and Justin are walking, and Justin walks straight into a pillar because he's reading, and Cassie sees he's reading about vampires, and she just screams, "Vampires!" And then she calmly explains that there's no such thing as vampires. Bitch, you're a Power Ranger. There are monsters. Then Count Nocturne and Piranha show up in front of them, so they start fighting them off, and somehow Justin goes toe-to-toe with Count Nocturne with little issue, but then he tries to bite Justin. Cassie gets free as well as TJ running to help Justin, and for some reason, Count Nocturne just retreats at this moment for absolutely no reason. Justin says it didn't bite him, but it might have bit Carlos, and he explains how Carlos is definitely a vampire. They then realize that he's with Ashley, so they need to go make sure she's okay. They run off. Then Ashley asks Carlos if he wants to grab a bite after the blood drive now. Carlos goes to bite Ashley's neck, and the other teens show up just in time, and Justin tells Carlos to look in the mirror, and Ashley sees that he doesn't have a reflection. Say they have to get to the power chamber and have Alpha check him out, and Carlos removes his sunglasses, refusing. He then just turns into a little plastic bat flying away. Man, this show. They ask how they're going to find him and Ashley remembers the blood drive. This is gross. Carlos is at the blood drive in the youth center because God forbid any other building get used. He sees a sign for human blood, as if there would be different kinds here, and he gets thwarted by Stone being there, setting up a table. Bulk and Skull walk in seeing Carlos, and they yell how there's a vampire there, and as Stone is talking, Carlos sneaks out behind him, running away. In the hallway, Ashley and TJ grab Carlos, teleporting out right away. Then Alpha says that he made an antidote from a lunar bat, and Carlos says he won't drink any antidote, and Alpha says he's right, and he blasts him in the face with some mist, turning Carlos back to normal. Okay, that was really funny. The other Rangers explain what happened to Carlos. Apparently this antidote is only temporary, and he shows a mirror to Carlos, who is still a bit translucent. Demetria and Alpha explain that as long as Count Nocturne is alive, Carlos will remain under the spell a bit. So they need to just commit murder right quick. Also, Justin and Cassie are fighting Count Nocturne, so shifting to Turbo. All 5 Rangers are together and they talk smack, fighting off the Piranhas, which are really starting to feel like a waste of time at this point. Carlos then goes after Count Nocturne, but he loses focus or something, falling onto the ground. The others run over and they get blown up by Count Nocturne. TJ calls out the Turbo Ran Cannon and they fire at Count Nocturne, hitting him down. Divtox launches the torpedoes, making Count Nocturne giant. The Rangers call out their Rescue Zords, forming the Rescue Megazord. The Rescue Megazord then gets chained up, getting kind of crucified. That's good. Then Carlos says that the antidote is wearing off, but he's got to fight it as they're getting beat up. They have to evacuate the Rescue Megazord since it's all tied up, and then they get into the Turbo Zords, forming the Turbo Megazord. They start fighting against Count Nocturne, and I have to say, this is great use of having 2 Megazords. However, Count Nocturne literally picks up the Turbo Megazord, swinging the thing around and tossing it into a mountain before he starts hammering on them, and then he pulls out a drill, using it against the Megazord. He starts just drilling straight into the chest of the Megazord, and he tells Carlos to join him or else everyone dies. Then Carlos complains that the spell is getting too strong, but he's got to fight back. So he suggests that they combine the Megazords? Wait, what? TJ gets out and he gets the red and blue Turbo Zords and the other Zords from the Rescue Zords, forming the Rescue Turbo Megazord. This is a terrible new combination. Carlos is now in the center and they hit Count Nocturne's weapons out of his hand. They then use artillery power, firing at Count Nocturne, blowing him up. Okay, that was a weird Megazord fight to say the least. On the space base, Divatox is pissed that she lost, again. Elgar says they can always get another lunar bat and he flies off of the balcony, but then he gets back up after Divatox is yelling at Rygog. At the next movie screening, the Rangers show up and apparently the film reels are a bit delayed, and they're worried that the delivery person will be late. Also, Bulk and Skull talk about how they're terrified because if they show a vampire film and vampires show up, what happens if werewolves show up from their werewolves movie? Then the delivery guy shows up and he looks like a werewolf mildly. The end. This episode should definitely be way worse than I thought it was. I actually enjoyed it for some odd reason. Maybe it's just because it wasn't boring, but the entire idea of a ranger getting turned into a vampire was actually played pretty well. It wasn't too hammy, but it wasn't taken too seriously either. And while I usually start to tune out during Megazord battles, the Rescue Turbo Megazord took me by surprise because even though I'm a Power Rangers super fan, I had no idea that ever happened. Overall, pretty entertaining episode. So next time, hopefully it'll continue to be a bit entertaining, but until then, may the power protect you.